So this is the radio module, and this was an eBay purchase, and this was the bargain price of just over £10. I believe it was £11. So I will show the original listing here. So I think that this was an absolute bargain. So this appears to be made by Gables Engineering, or that's what it says on the back. And let's have a quick look. So this is a VHF aircraft radio, and here we have the two dials. Now these dials control the frequencies for the two windows, so you can see that they are both 100% functional. Then have a transfer switch which allows you to select the active mode. It is in this nice metal box, as you can see, and it's in fairly good condition because I'm assuming it's incredibly old. There's no date on the back, but we'll have a look at that in a second. So turning it round, we have this nice metal case with screws, so we'll take a look inside in a minute. And then looking at the back panel, we have a number, so we've got Gables Engineering from Florida, USA, with a MOD number of G-2709 N2 and a serial number of 31. And it's got a thing that says MODIF status with A crossed out, so I've got no idea what that means. We now have two connectors on the back. We have this connector here which is labelled J2, and this connector here labelled J1, which has a nice plastic cover on it. And there is lots and lots of pins in there. So, without further ado, let's crack the lid. I think the best place to start off is to remove the 4 screws on the top. They're not too stiff, and I've got no idea what to expect the inside of this module to look like. And one of the screws is a bit stiff, which is I think not surprising. There we go. Now for the moment of truth then. There we go, that is what the inside of this module looks like. So looking inside, we have the two dial housings. So as you can see there, we can adjust the frequency, and the same on the other side. And if we look deep inside of the module, we can see that this connector here labelled J2 is not connected inside, and this big connector labelled J1 has all of the wires going to it. So I think we're going to have to do some further inspection because all of the wires seem to go down to this other module. So now I'm going to take the cover, the rest of the cover off, and we'll have a look further inside. There are all the screws removed, and now time for the big reveal. And off comes that panel. So looking at the base and through it, we can see that all of the wires from the two units come down into this what looks to be a diode network, and then that is connected to the socket. I think this is good news for us because this unit is just a head for a bigger radio system. All it has is the gauges and the connections which we can plug onto this, and that's good news because this is likely, I'm going to try and implement this into maybe a flight simulator. So we don't actually need any of the real radio stuff. All we actually want is the switches. So now it is the challenge to figure out where all of the wires go. Okay, so what I'm currently doing now is I'm trying to figure out how this thing is wired. So the first thing I did was try and get these bulbs working. Now these are 5-volt bulbs, I believe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to power these like this. Which way? And then the relevant LED according to the switch lights. Sorry, not LED, bulb. You may also notice that I've removed the front panels, so I took off the knobs and I took off these 2 panels. So here is the actual plate, and as you can see this was designed with these 2 extra things in mind, but they have obviously since been removed, and this plate which covers them. And I'm going to clean these because they're absolutely filthy, and potentially repaint this panel, but I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. So I've now been testing these backlight bulbs, and if I try and test these as well, they do actually work, but only one does, which is this one, because they're all connected together. All the other ones appear to be fried. So now I'm going to continue testing this module and see where everything lives. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and clean the unit. So I'm using an older toothbrush head. I'm just going to try and obviously clean as much of the dirt off as I can. So there is the module, certainly a lot cleaner than it was. So now I'm going to continue to investigate the backlight. So I ended up taking the unit apart even further. I took the front panel off, and as you can see I have rewired the backlight. I've replaced the bulbs with LEDs. So obviously the bulbs were intended for 5 volts, whereas the LEDs, these white LEDs, have a forward voltage of 3.3. So I've had to put in a little resistor there, which is just behind the switch. So now the next step is to reassemble the panel and begin to put it back together. Now I have wired up the backlighting for the text here. I then realised that there is some more backlighting which is used to illuminate the numbers. So if I just probe one of the bulbs, you'll be able to see them light up. However, the issue again is that some of the bulbs are blown. So on the right hand side indicator, one bulb is blown, and on the left hand side indicator, two bulbs are blown. So because I don't have any replacement bulbs of the right size, I'm going to have to replace them all with LEDs, because I could just replace the missing ones, but the LEDs that I have are white, so they wouldn't look quite right. Okay, so now all of the backlight has been rewired with LEDs to replace the bulbs where required. So we've got 3 different lighting systems in this radio unit. We have got these 2 bulb indicators which show which channel is selected active. We then have the text backlight, so this is LEDs, and this is again a separate system. And then finally we have the 2 dial illuminators, so they obviously illuminate the LEDs. So all of these are on separate channels. So turning the unit around, we can see the rear plug. As we found, this plug here isn't connected. It probably was connected to the other controls that we found, but is no longer needed. This being the main connector, it has all of the connections we need. So all of these wires coming out the back are purely for the backlighting. So as you can see, we have the 2 different pairs. So these 2 are one of the systems, these 2 another one, and those 2 the others. I can't remember which one's which, but I have written them down. So now the next challenge is to figure out how to get an output from this box to which channel is selected. So I'm assuming that this is going to be multiplexed by somewhere. We saw all the diodes and things, because there's obviously more channels than pins on the backside. So we need some way of deciding which channel's which, and also which channel is the active. So that is the next challenge. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.